There should be no debate by now. And I think when we look back, you know, 20, 30, 50 years from now, and just like scholars are analyzing 1918 pandemic influenza, and many such scholars will dissect our response to the 2020 COVID pandemic. One obvious glaring opportunity that was missed was early mask adoption. And I'll share with you some data that shows masks work. Early on, we were sharing with everyone that mask wearing is mostly to protect others. And that is still very much true. But we have enough strong data to indicate that wearing a mask, and when I say a mask, not an N95, I'm talking generally a cloth covering or a surgical mask, even helps protect the wearer of ourselves by reducing the severity of infection. And as you may have noticed, people are saying, oh, the virus seems to have improved. It's less severe. There are more asymptomatic people. People are not dying as much. Yes, some of that improvement in mortality might be due to improved medical care, and we'll talk about that briefly as well. But I believe that as the community and the population adopts more mask wearing, the viral dose going in is less. So leading to a better chance for the immune system to recover from that or have just milder symptom at best. And certainly less risk of cytokine storm with a virus load that is high, and resultant mortality would be that much lower when the initial viral load infection is low as well. So this is a great paper from British Medical Journal. It's a preprint, but it's undergoing peer review. What they did was they looked at 200 countries across the world, and they found that countries that adopted early masking, and notice Mongolia is on that list. Mongolia was very prompt in adopting masking in January. And as of May, they had no recorded deaths due to COVID, even though they are closer to China geographically. Whereas it took US until April to recommend masking. And it took the United Nation until June to recommend masking. So in hindsight, failure to mask will be a glaring miss from a public health perspective and a lost opportunity to really control the narrative on this. So masks do certainly more than protect others during COVID-19. And this is a great review paper from the Journal of General Internal Medicine. Dr. Monica Gandhi is the first author on that. And what they have shown in this paper is that the virus load does matter. And if by wearing a mask, we're getting much less inoculum, the disease state response is that much milder. They've cited many other studies to support that hypothesis as well. This paper from the CID, Clinical Infectious Disease, was more of a biological animal model where they actually had hamsters in two different cages. One had the SARS coronavirus 2, other did not, and they were separated by a surgical mask-like partition. What they found is that the uninfected hamsters did not get the virus, even though they were close by. And they also found that those that did get it only had very mild disease. So it confirms the biological basis of surgical mask reducing the risk of transmission and disease state. These are real life examples. There's the first one is the dialysis center in Indiana. They had a massive outbreak within there, but everybody was wearing a mask. Second is the seafood processing plant in, I think, Oregon. And the third one is the Tyson chicken processing plant in Arkansas. Because all these three facilities were having a universal masking with regular mask, they found that even though they had asymptomatic spread, majority of the people that tested positive were asymptomatic. Again, confirming that mask reduces the severity of disease. Let's talk about the lesson of from 2 cruises. The first cruise that all of us are familiar with is the Diamond Princess cruise. That, early on in the pandemic, they had the notoriety of being stuck at sea in Japan. They did not use masks, and they found that out of hundreds of people on the ship that were infected, only 18% were asymptomatic because the virus load was high. On the left-hand side, you see the itinerary of Antarctic cruise ship. Out of 217 passengers, 1 came down with fever, even though they had very stringent onboarding, daily temperature checking, and all that. On the 8th day of cruise, 1 person was febrile, and they started giving out masks to everyone, and they made social distancing the norm. In spite of all that, 128 cruise ship passengers ended up being testing positive, but 81% remained asymptomatic. Again, suggesting the strong protective value of mask, even if somebody gets an infection. So I think, mask and anti-mask mindset is not new. We see that even back in 1918 pandemic. This is a great archival picture from Georgia Tech football game. And you can see everyone is wearing a mask, enjoying the game during the 1918 influenza pandemic. The same holds true for baseball. Masked baseball was ongoing during the height of the 1918 flu.